today you're going to be taking some notes. These notes can be found under your classwork tab labeled Notes 524. They are traditional notes with your red text boxes that you'll need to fill in. Feel free to pause or rewatch any part of the video as we move through in order to make sure that you have all the information and don't miss anything important. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Believe it or not, these will be your penultimate set of notes. We've got one more round that we'll do, but almost there. We begin talking about this last society, the Mayans, last week, and as we debated whether or not they were an empire, civilization, or both. So today I'm going to go a little more in depth as to what their way of life was like. Starting with the timeline. 2000 BCE marks the beginning of the Mayan civilization as they were building ceremonial centers in Guatemala and the Yucatan. The Yucatan Peninsula is in present-day Mexico. It takes them a while to become a fully formed society, and their classic period will begin around 250 CE. We see advancements in math, astronomy, a writing system, architecture, and technology. We talked about some of those innovations when we did our Rise and Fall article on the Mayans on Thursday. I'll go a little more in depth with them now as well, and your weekly reading will cover some of this information too. Peak population will hit around 600 CE. And they have 5 million people living throughout their society. And this is going to cause the overstripping or overuse of resources and deforestation. Shortly thereafter, they'll enter the drought period beginning at 840 CE. This will cause widespread erosion and crop failure, leading to the fall of the Mayan civilization. The classic period will end 60 years later in 900 CE. And then 9 years after that, the last year is inscribed by the Mayans and believed to be caused by drought, famine, disease, and internal warfare. So after 909 CE, we have no record, nothing from the Mayans, almost as if they disappeared. Before they fell apart, however, they did accomplish many things. That's what we'll look at next. They organized themselves differently than many of the other civilizations that we've looked at so far. They had no central king ruling their society. Instead, there were as many as 20 separate areas similar to the ancient Greek city-states. Remember, city-states are small, independent territories that have their own government structure and social structure. So we'll see that the Mayan regions are going to be similar to that. They'll be focused around a major city who had its own ruler and noble class, supported by smaller cities and surrounding farms and villages. The ancient Maya society was divided into classes. At the top were the nobles and the priests. Their middle class is made up of warriors, craftsmen, and traders, and then farmers, workers, and slaves are at the bottom. The social class system should sound familiar to many of the other social class systems that we've studied, with consumers at the top and producers at the bottom. We also see strong religious influences, especially considering the Mayan kings were considered to be direct descendants of the Mayan gods. Again, this is mentioned in our reading on Thursday. The ancient Maya developed the science of astronomy, the study of the stars and movement of the planet, the calendar system, and hieroglyphic writing. Hieroglyphic writing is symbolic writing where you use pictures to stand in for words. It was made up of 800 glyphs, so 800 images, and some glyphs were pictures and others represented sounds. They would chisel the glyphs into stone and included them in a codice, and this is a book that folded like an accordion, and it contained information on history, medicine, astronomy, and their religion. They're also known for creating elaborate ceremonial architecture, such as pyramids, temples, palaces, and observatories. And these structures were built without metal tools. This is what they look like. This is one of the most famous examples of Mayan architecture, Chichen Itza. And you can see how they built their temples and buildings in this step-like structure. All of these locations you can visit today, so you can climb them. You can also see their artwork here. Other forms of artwork were their beautiful woven fabrics, and they also designed musical instruments like horns, drums, and castanets. They also carved huge stone statues like the one that I showed you on the last slide. Archaeologists can tell a great deal about the ancient Maya from their wonderful pottery and clay figures. The art they created honored their leaders, gods, and daily life. They also cleared routes to jungle and swamps to create trade routes. This allowed them to sell and trade goods they made for goods that they needed. Mayan people were also skilled farmers. In order to farm, they had to clear huge sections of tropical rainforest. Groundwater was scarce in these areas, so they had to build large underground reservoirs to store rainwater. They also began to use terracing, where they leveled their farmland into the mountainside, so they would have different levels in the mountains for different crops. Here's some examples of their artwork. They're famous for murals. You can see here. Here's some examples of their hieroglyphic writing. Carved into stone, as you can see, their images. They don't have particular letters. We do. And then some example of their intricate pottery. As we can see, it's both painted and has detailed designs. And that is it for the notes for today. We'll go a little more in depth with these things as we move through today and tomorrow. And then you'll have your last quiz on Wednesday. Feel free to rewatch or re-listen to any part of these notes if you need to. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.